There's this place in Singapore called Nam Nam, so Nam Nam is like the famous place in Singapore. So I basically I've added that. So when you delete the record, similar. So you can actually detect all that as well. Okay. So if we were to look at the SignalR example here. Okay, so there's actually a few things that you can do. So, for example, high frequency updates if you want to create games. By the way, do you guys play games? Yeah? Yeah, gamers?
Yes.
What games do you guys play?
Some game RTS like StarCraft.
Oh, StarCraft. You must let me know your handle. So when you talk about high frequency real time updates, so you're talking about a game where somebody is accessing from the web, and you want to make sure that there's always a constant interaction and update between the hub as well as the client. So by using SignalR, you'll be able to do that. So if you follow this tutorial, it's actually a very good sample for you to get started on wanting to create a gaming application, to give you the idea behind it and how it actually works. So I'm going to download the project.
Lưu trữ thôi. Tốc độ xử lý của Signal nó ở một mức độ rất là lớn, hiệu suất lớn. Đây là một cái demo nó di chuyển cái hình di chuyển. Cái group trong cái group thì có rất nhiều group có gì đâu, group chẳng qua là ông kiểu ông có một cái đấy luôn, ông phải thấy nó là sao nào rồi cái group trong cái hấp của cái group cái đó
So this is a very simple example. Let's just run the sample. What you are seeing here is part of Dynamics tools. It's called Just Trace, so you can trace the performance of the application when you are testing running it. So basically, when you do this, let's
set.
copy. So pretty cool, huh? Oh, simple. Cool. Yeah, this is very simple, but you get an idea of the usefulness. So you want to do a game. Then obviously, when it comes to tracking, you need to be able to handle multiple clients, multiple people moving different objects at the same time. So those are the things that is beyond the scope of today's discussion. So we won't go into that. Okay, so sorry, let me post this. Okay, so we're going to take a look. So, what about the server broadcast? So the server broadcast functionality use case is when, for example, you think of it like a push notification. So your server is running constantly. It's actually checking or listening to certain, maybe you are looking for updates on your database. And when there's an update of a new record on the database or somebody do an import from the backend, maybe you want to push the update to all your clients about this new information. So this is where you can actually do it. Or sometimes maybe your system is running on a remote server somewhere else and it's constantly pumping information from a enterprise CRM, or you are listening to a ERP system somewhere, for example. So with that, your server can actually broadcast maybe new inventory that has been added to the client. So these are some of the use cases that you can use for this. I realize I'm talking a little bit fast because I'm actually hungry. So, okay, so I think in this case, the only way we can support this is to actually execute the code. I think my Visual Studio after the update yesterday is pretty screwed, so I will try to find a way to resolve that. I will also be doing a personal recording of what is meant for today's demo, put on my blog as well. So you guys go to my blog, you can see the whole session for today on my blog as well. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's see if we have the sample. Okay, they don't have the sample code for this. Okay. So for SignalR, that's the use cases. There are actually a lot more to SignalR than just updating of real-time information. Actually, I should show you the simple one.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I push a notification to just one user?
Yes, you can. Basically, in your code behind, what you do is that when you actually want to send, for example, do a private message, right? So private message only to you. So what I do is that I can send the information back, but when every time somebody connects, when you start the hub, when you pass the first message back to the server, you can pass certain ID, correct, to identify yourself.
And then in the client code, you can check the...
Yeah, so yeah, correct. So from the client code, the JavaScript, when I'm actually doing a RPC call to the server to say I'm online now. So when I come online, I'm telling the server to identify who I am. So the server on the back end, you can do update to your database to say that this particular person is online from this IP address and this information. So once you have done that, so you keep track of who this person is in your back-end database. You can keep if it's a very big application, obviously you use a database. If it's just a sample application, I will just use an array for to proof of concept. Yeah, but I think your thought process is correct, and I think it'll be interesting to do a sample on that as well. So perhaps I'll try to find some time to create a sample so they can take a look at the use case of how you can just send a private message. Yeah, but we'll take that offline. So yeah.
How about group communication message?
Same thing. So the idea is the same, but now that you have, instead of just one person, you might be keeping, for example, a temporary array, just a use case. So a temporary array of all the people that are belonging in that group. So when I send the information broadcast to the server, everybody in just related to that group will receive the push notification for the messages. So because you remember in your connection hub, you can actually specify an object and how the format of the object you want it to be. So in your group case, maybe it's not just a string for the message. Maybe it's also with an array to specify who this group is, the group name. So then you can actually send it back to the client UI. The client UI will check, who are you, which group are you from, will you receive? So that is actually where you can do the use case. Does that answer your question?
Sorry, I have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
question now.
Yeah.
Sorry, how does the browser can know that the request is
Okay, so the browser, every browser that we have has the WebSocket built in. So you just have to leverage on it. The WebSocket is already there. So it's kind of like a technical term is protocol. So protocol or transport protocol. So when you use that, every browser has it, so you can use it. Like I mentioned above, the only browser right now that really sucks is IE. So if you use IE, you have to use HTTP. So it's all inbuilt already. So when you do the connection, everything that we are doing here is already possible. So you don't have to recreate the WebSocket on your browser. There's no need to do that. Okay, so
mỗi thằng chúng tôi tạo một cái ID rồi. Chúng tôi tạo cái ID đó và nhiệm vụ của mình rất đơn giản thôi. Xác định cái ID đó từ lúc nào hoàn thành xong. Thế là vẫn sẽ phải có cái lúc ở vị thế hoặc cái quản lý marketing nó cần
okay, so I think today's session is a bit short, so I just want to touch a little bit about Televic itself. After all, my company paid me to fly here to talk to you guys, so I have to do a little bit of show. Televic has been around since 2002. That's the same time as .NET has been around, 2001. So why Televic is really good is because we are the pioneers. When you talk about component UI, we are the pioneers. So we have currently over 1.7 million developers worldwide. And 80%, in fact 90% of these over 1.7 million developers are outside of Asia. We are actually very new to Asia. That is why my company is allowing me to get paid to come and talk. So hopefully we want more developers to try out Televic itself. Later I'll share some of the websites and URLs that you can go to actually look at some of the trials as well. Another plus point of Televic is that, sometimes you use a product, it looks very nice, it sounds very nice. The marketing on the website is like, this product is amazing, you have to use. But the moment you install it onto your Visual Studio, you're like, oh shit, it's so hard to use. That was what I felt in 2006 when I started using Televic. All I wanted to look for was a date picker control. Anybody remember the date picker control? Or anybody? Yeah, the JavaScript date picker. So it was so hard to configure. I was thinking, shit, when you start to think about complex application and there's locality, every region they have a different way of formatting the date, right? So you have month, day, year, and then some place like year, month, day. So then the question is, with such a basic control, how are you going to monitor and the amount of if-else statements you have to write to configure that? So that was a pain in the ass, and pardon my language. So when I tried out a few trials, UI controls, Televic was the one that was so easy. I downloaded, and within 5 minutes, I was able to get a sample running. And I was actually a so-called fresh grad at that point in time. I just started working for 1 year. So Televic UI tools are very easy. Reason being because it's developer focused. It's created by developers for developers. That's how Televic first started. So we believe that it's not just about creating a great product. We want to create a product that developers want to use. So some of the things that we have. So earlier today I showed you the ASP.NET MVC. Okay. We do have the web forms. We do still support web forms, and we will continue to support web forms because we understand that sometimes if you are working in the government or your project is running in a government server, they don't always upgrade their system. So sometimes you need to be able to support the older methodologies or technology that is being used. Like Silverlight, even though Microsoft also stopped progressing on it, we still support it as well. We do have Candle UI, so Candle UI works together with MVC, so it's just a wrapper around it. Meanforms, WPF, we have UWP, which is Windows 10. Perhaps, if the next time around I can come back again, I would like to talk about Windows 10 itself. Yeah, because I think Windows 10 right now is the in thing. I've also been receiving requests in Singapore's Microsoft user group to talk about UWP. So perhaps next month or something, I'll come back and talk about this. We do have our automated testing solution as well for native mobile apps. We have Telerik platform for doing a cross-platform development and management. And we have Telerik Sitefinity, which is our enterprise web content management system. It's blank here because I couldn't think of what photo to put. So,
Take a photo.
Okay. So that's why it's blank, but it's okay, you see me here. So basically, those are my contact details. Please go and follow me. Please go and add me right now. That's my blog up there, my GitHub as well. So the source codes that I've been using for the sample today, I'm going to put it up onto GitHub as well. So you guys please go and follow, and you can go and have access to the codes as well. So feel free to contribute to the projects. For the private chat example, I will put it up onto my GitHub as well, so we can share ideas. And you can ping me as well if you have questions on that. Okay, so let me share a little bit about Telerik. Okay, so for Telerik itself, these are all the UI controls that we have. I obviously didn't list all of them. So if any of you are actually into Xamarin, oh yes, Xamarin has been bought over by Microsoft. Yeah. You know, right?
Yes.
So of course you guys know, you guys are .NET developers. So for the Xamarin, yes, it has been bought over by Microsoft itself. UWP is a fairly new product for Telerik. So you can actually build Windows 10 applications. Feel free to check it out as well. Just go to www.telerik.com. You can download the trials and play around with it. Okay, so that's for the UI tools. All these productivity tools come when you actually get the full subscription. So, but yeah, go ahead and play around with the trial and let me know what you think as well. Okay, so I think today we have ended early. So yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How to compare between the hub and the ESP enterprise service work? Can we compare hub and ESP in this?
Sorry, hub? Say again.
And ESP enterprise service work?
ASP enterprise. Okay. Okay, my mind is blank on my mind, so try to recall what it means.
No, ESP
ESP Enterprise Service Bus.
Yeah.
Oh, EXP.
No,
S.
S.
B.
No.
Enterprise
Oh,
Service.
service
No.
hub.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah. And
Okay, so personally, I'll be very honest with you. I'm not very familiar with Enterprise Service Hub, but let me do some reading up on this.
Yeah.
Give me your contact details so that I can get back to you on this as well.
Yeah.
Mình nghĩ là bài hôm nay rất là ngắn ra, mọi người tranh thủ hỏi những kiến thức vì mọi người đang vướng mắc. Thì nếu không thì
cái này thì nó thuộc về ấy. Cái này ít dùng.
App I've sent you some questions.
Oh yes, correct.
Đâu thực ra là do mình không dùng chứ thành thử là cái này nó là
Oh my god. Maybe I'll just.
không bây giờ nó nhiều tại vì mình chưa dùng đây nhiều đấy. Cái này nó dùng cho chúng ta nhiều bởi vì mình rất nhiều cái đầu bây giờ nó làm quét.
Okay, so the questions that I have, number one, the comparison between SignalR and Socket.io. I've already mentioned that in my slide. ASP.NET MVC6 new features. I think for the ASP.NET MVC6 new features, I mentioned earlier, so if you're interested. I always love Stack Overflow. Okay, so if you want to know what are the new features, okay, so basically now for the new features for ASP.NET MVC6, we allow you to be cloud optimized. So if you are actually working on applications that you need to leverage on your cloud services, cloud technology, you can actually do that now with the MVC, Web API, Web Pages, SignalR, Entity Framework as well. So speaking of Entity Framework, I'd like to encourage you guys to go and try out Entity Framework 7. I've already tried out Entity Framework 7. It's stable, it's good, it works. In fact, let me also share this. This is a project that I'm personally working on this year as a Televic evangelist because I have to fly around, travel around. So rather than every time having to create a new demo, I've started my own project. This is on GitHub as well. So this will showcase Televic UI's capabilities, all the different projects. I'm going to come up with all the different versions, Silverlight, WPF version, and all that. So when I do this, all this is actually all the UI and the colors that you're looking at here, right? It's all customized. Sorry, I always press one. Okay, so all the things that you see, it's all customizable. So this is kind of thing like, for example, look at the number of records you have in the group, the grid control. But seriously, if I start talking about Televic, I will go on the whole night. So, but today is not about Televic. So, okay. So basically now we don't have the no more dependency for system.web. Okay, we do have the project extension. So if you have any dependency that you want to put into your project and compile it, it will automatically download those dependencies into your project as well. Okay, so now that we use the startup class, we no longer use the global.as. Okay. So cloud ready by design. One thing that perhaps as a developer, just preference, my own personal preference, I'm not very into the Roslyn compiler. Because I do have subscription with GoDaddy. If any of you use GoDaddy server hosting, when you build a project in C#.NET 6, if you enable the Roslyn compiler and you upload your project onto the server, it basically just doesn't load because it cannot compile, it cannot execute and run the Roslyn compiler. So my personal preference, I raised this issue to the Microsoft.NET team before. and eventually after that they created a build so that you can like opt not to have support for Visual Studio 6. So that has been addressed as well. So we all know it's open source and cross-platform. So I think ultimately at the day, to me, I think this is the most exciting point. The rest is like, if you forget the rest, just remember this. It's open source. So one of the questions I remember that was sent to me earlier today is what is the direction for the .NET team? I didn't prepare this beforehand.
Can you show the questions in the browser?
Yeah. Okay, so same time you guys are going to follow me, okay? Go and add me again. Go and add me. Yes, add me. So by the end of this session, I should have a lot of ads. Yeah. So you can see how to identify my profile. It's very easy to identify my profile. You just see a television tick there. Oh, spelling error. Yes,
number one in Singapore. Number one with Singapore National University.
I'm not in university. I only had a diploma, by the way. I did a part-time degree once, and I quit the part-time degree halfway. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we talked about the changes earlier. We have shown new features as well. When I studied about MVC. Okay, now. Okay, so how to create a chat app like Facebook one-on-one and group, right? So as I mentioned earlier, I will go back and I'll start a GitHub project, and I'll share with you guys, and we can contribute to a GitHub project using SignalR. So we can build a simple proof of concept. We do group and we do one-on-one. So that's something that we can do together. So, but if you want to understand the basic tutorial, you can go to ASP.NET and learn from there under www.asp.net. So that's the website you can go to. Okay, so I want to know how to separate solution from project areas. This question was from who? Who asked this question?
Anh hỏi câu này có thể tiến hành lại. Mình lấy từ trên những cái câu ở các bạn gửi trên cái Google Form.
You're just trying to understand what you mean to clarify.
Làm thế nào để phân biệt, để phân chia?
I think he means the solution architecture is in it or application.
Okay, so if you're talking about solution architecture and you want to have, I would assume you want to have multiple projects, as in when you look at the solution explorer, you want to have multiple projects within this solution. And using each project, you want to compile and build it in a web part. Am I correct?
Yeah, web part.
Okay, so using that. Okay, so all this is quite awesome. So I'm just going to go.
Gỗ đơn giản này, chỉ có chữ gỗ. Có mỗi chữ gỗ này, thế mới là làm thành đỉnh. Cái gì của nó cũng được.
Okay, so personally, I've not used this methodology before, so that's where I admit that I might not know very well how it can be implemented. Okay, so this is something that we can look into. to understand how it actually works. So okay. This I will take this and I'll put it in create a new text file. Okay, so for those of you that is interested, you have the question about how to actually build different parts for the same solution or project. Although this is for SharePoint, I think the idea is pretty much the same. So
câu hỏi cho SharePoint hay là mấy SharePoint khác nhau?
Không biết cái này có phải hỏi SharePoint
Có website SharePoint mà.
Cái này lâu rồi, lấy đồng chí lấy ví dụ đấy, hỏi.
Cái này từ năm 20 gì? 10.
I think the question is about how to architect a lab application.
okay.
How we reference or how we architect the solution architecture.
If you're talking about
application like social network or anything else.
social network. So okay, so what you're trying to explain is that you have a big project that have different portions.
Yeah.
Okay, so each area in that project, you want to create it in a different part of your solution, your Visual Studio solution. So
do you have any case study or sample architecture?
sorry?
Do you have any case study or sample architecture about that application?
Web application. I do have I have one contact. He is actually much more expert in terms of understanding different solution architecture for Visual Studio itself, how you can break up the project. I'm more of an expert in Telerik, and when it comes to everything .NET, I'm a generalist. So when you go into in-depth, I mean, I do a lot of different things over the years, but I don't consider myself really an expert because I still ask people for advice a lot of times. So there's still a lot of things I'm still learning as well. So, but I appreciate having the opportunity to come here and receive these questions because the questions are really good, and I think it's also a chance for me to learn as well. Yeah. So. Okay, so this one is something that I'm very comfortable. I think this is my favorite question. All the other questions I didn't really read. I just read the last one. So, so basically JavaScript front-end development using JavaScript future trend. Okay, right now Angular 2 is the next big thing. You're going to hear a lot about Angular 2 this year. There are a lot of user groups that I'm going to that I'll be talking about Angular 2 as well, even in Hong Kong and Taiwan. So I'll be talking about Angular 2. Angular 2 Candle UI is built around the Angular 2 the architecture. So when you talk about single page application, normally nowadays corporate websites, a lot of it are single page application, or rather they are following the architecture of a single page application. So when you use AngularJS, that is actually a very good way for you to manage your views. and to manage your data as well. So by using Candle UI, one of the things about Candle UI that I personally is my favorite, because customers tend to ask me, developers ask me, so what is so unique about Candle UI if it's just a UI framework? So my answer to them is that when you say that Candle UI is just a UI framework, it's not doing it justice. Because Candle UI itself has an underlying layer that allows you to manipulate much more than just the UI. For example, we have the candle.data source. The data source object is such a big topic itself that it can take me 2 days to just talk about it. But this candle.data source object allows you to manage your data, your model. Even say, for example, a very good use case. Last year, before I joined Progress, I was doing consulting. I did a project for United Nations. United Nations has been using Candle UI for the past 3 years. So I saw a glimpse of their project, the back end. They use the data source object in Candle UI to do like 4 or 5 different joins across different tables, different database. Because United Nations, they have so many databases, the enterprise system. And sometimes all these are legacy systems. They cannot just take it down one day and build a new database tomorrow. That does not work. So a lot of times when they build a new project, they have to be able to call information from 2 different places, combine them, and make sense of it on the UI side. So with Candle UI, you have that framework to do that. And rather than putting all your code and source code into your HTML page, and it runs very slowly, by having this Candle UI model layer, what I like to do is I always like to park this code on my cloud server. So my front page, my HTML, basically just calls that to pass information to do processing. So my web page itself is always very lightweight, very fast. So that is the power of Candle UI. So that is something that if you are looking at solution architecture for large application, no need to hesitate. Go for Candle UI. Candle UI is open source, also Candle UI core is open source. But a lot of the other more advanced UI controls like grid and all that is not available until you go for a paid version. So for AngularJS 2 right now is still in beta. So we will see the progress as it moves along. I've already started using AngularJS 2 for one of my projects. I can't show it here yet, but once I get a green light to show it, I'll be able to publish it online and show you guys what the AngularJS 2 and Candle UI combination is going to be like. And it's going to be very, very fast. It's very fast. One of the things that how do you measure fast? So when we talk about fast, I like what we have. Like for example, you have 100,000 records. How fast can your grid load 100,000 records? Or rather, maybe you are not loading 100,000 records in a single page, because that's crazy, and you have to scroll like forever to go through. But say for example, you need to print out a report, maybe you need to display 100 records per page. Will displaying 25 records and 100 records be any different? So by using AngularJS 2 and Candle UI, that's something I'm working on now, you'll be able to see the difference, or rather you'll be able to see a difference between using a normal control now and using Candle UI and Angular 2. So the direction for that this year is something that you can be very excited to look forward to. I'm personally very excited by it. Maybe I don't show that I'm very excited because I'm really hungry now. So, but we'll cover that topic when we come to that, when we have a chance to go to Candle UI. So, yeah. So that is the last question that was there. Yep. So.
Yes, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Like, I will ask you many questions, but we don't have time. So I hope that I will contact with you later by Skype or Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I very admire one person that's a foreigner in IT, and I work for the is a very big famous company in the world.
Oh, Thank you.
Yeah, theoretic. So I think that's the theoretic will have many jobs and many work to do every day, and we tell us the worker, the officers have to study every day to replace with the latest technology into one. So one question that you have many jobs to do in the companies, and you have many knowledge, you have knowledge to improve. So what the style of learning method that you have to do every day to improve your knowledge every day to meet the requirement of the job?
Oh, that's a very tough question. I have no way to put that answer in one sentence. I have to say first that, again, I don't think I'm an expert. I know that a lot of people, not a lot lah, but people that I've met so far felt that I'm a product expert. But I always tell them, see, I still Google. So I'm not a product expert really. I mean, I'm a tailoring product expert, yes, I have to be. But in terms of all technology, I'm not. But I think ultimately what I do is I will set aside 1 hour every day just to read up on what is the latest trend in .NET, what's the latest trend in Ruby, what's the latest trend in Python. For example, I just started learning Python this year. I set a goal for myself that in the next 5 to 7 years, I want to learn another 5 programming languages. Because in the last 10 years, I've learned about 15 programming languages. But I'm still not an expert because every programming language, every use case, every client that you go to for a project, there's so many different use cases. There's so many different variables. So what I do is I do a lot of research into understanding the types of applications that are available on the market. I read about what, maybe for example, in Singapore, I read about what the government is trying to push. What are people doing? What is the technology that they are using now? What is the demand? What is coming up next? And now from there, then I will go into the next step of reading about that technology. So for example, like now I know that for web forms is phasing out, right? My understanding is that Singapore government runs a lot of websites using ASPX. So yeah, so then I understand that, okay, so now there's a need to understand more about MVC architecture. I would invest in books. I would actually buy books, physical books, IT books to read. And I think, I'm not sure, is it expensive to buy books here to read?
Yes.
Very expensive.
Very expensive. Oh yeah, you guys use ebook. I know ebooks is actually cheaper because you don't have to print it and all that stuff. Yeah, you can use ebook. What I do is also, when, for example, I'm learning Python now, right? So I usually am very busy, so I spend maybe about 2 days a week, 1 hour each, just to cover one chapter in Python. But I don't just follow the example. Once I finish the chapter, I will try to think about in what scenario would I use this, and how will I use it. So if you have been working in the industry for a couple of years, you have done a few projects before, you can sort of understand the use case. And for example, Python is very good for a bioinformatics project. They do very complex. Okay, so I'm still learning, so pardon me. That's why I'm new as well for Python. But yeah, Python, one of the use cases that I'm getting off is for bioinformatics. So I have not had a chance to work on any project in the domain yet. But who knows, maybe I might have the opportunity in the future. So in terms of thought process, I think the most important thing is to just know that you can never finish learning technology. You can never finish learning. I spent 10 years learning, and I think I need to spend another 20 years to become an expert. So I think if that's the question you're asking, I think just know that it's a constant process. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen in 1 year or 2 years. But because technology keeps growing, you want to make sure that you are always there at the forefront. You might not know it best, but you are the first to know it, and people will be like, "Wow, you're already knowing about it." And I think that is the key. Yeah.
Okay, I think that your question, your answer is quite important for me. But I will continue as you in the future.
Okay, no problem. Again, my Skype
is very important questions for me. Yes, so that's okay. Thank you.
I respect that. I respect that.
Very, I mean, there are many questions for you.
Okay. Yes.
I ask about how can you choose the front-end framework between front-end framework AngularJS or MVC or those or something. What is the feature you think to choose the framework inside the project? What is the feature you think to choose?
Okay, sorry. Can you repeat the beginning part because I couldn't catch the beginning part?
There are many kind of front-end framework.
All right.
Yeah, and how can you choose the feature to because it's when you start the project, you can think and choose the front-end framework to apply.
Yes.
And my question: how can you think of the feature to apply front-end framework?
Okay.
How do you know and how can you, because there are